You're also here to meet with people who are deep experts in their field, and we do not get this kind of collaboration every day. So it's well worth everyone paying attention, please, to the next 2 sets of short talks. The first one we have is around how do we disrupt medicine and medical research. And we're very lucky here to have Dr. Esper Kallas to speak to us about this topic. And he is truly a disruptor, innovator, and expert in his field. So please welcome, Doctor.
Well, thank you. Well, I think medicine is changing very fast, and it is changing in a way to make it more specialized. It's going to be very focused in a given patient. It's going to be personalized, and it's going to be what we call boutique type of medicine. Well, my name is Esper Kallas. I'm a physician. I'm a scientist at the University of São Paulo. I work on medical research since the early stages of my career, when I left my small town and countryside city in Minas Gerais state of Brazil. And then when I came to São Paulo to do my training, my residency, something that caught my eye was very dramatic, because when I compared the type of medical care those patients in São Paulo, a big city in Brazil, would receive comparing to those from my hometown is very different. And I realized that this gap was pretty remarkable. And during the residency and in the following years of my career, I've been noticing that this gap is increasing. And it's increasing because the technology in medicine is advancing so fast, and it's very hard for the system to pick up that speed and make available to everyone what's available to those who have access to big sites, medical centers, and expensive medicines. If you look at the medicine as a whole, one of the biggest impacts that we see for the mankind is vaccine. So vaccines have been used for many, many years. It's probably one of those discoveries in medicine that mostly impacted in decreasing human suffering all across the world. It's a cheap and fast way to protect a given population against an infectious diseases, sometimes doing ring defense in an epidemic. And what is the basis of a vaccine? The basis of a vaccine is you give one shot and you induce one person to start producing a defense against an infectious diseases pathogen. For example, measles. We're seeing measles happen in the United States and New York because of a lack of vaccination. Well, what you need to do is give one shot of measles vaccine. This person's going to produce a defense. And this defense is based on one type of protein that everybody has in their bodies. It's called antibodies. So these antibodies are small proteins that each one of you produce and is able to protect against several diseases, including measles. Well, the final result from vaccination is to induce antibodies in people, therefore could be a way to find these antibodies in everyone, and perhaps making these antibodies readily available to treat and prevent infections, to treat and prevent diseases. That's the idea. A colleague called David Watkins, he's a scientist at the University of Miami, with whom I collaborate for 15 years, came up one day because we were running a clinical trial at the University of São Paulo, Brazil. We were developing this new vaccine against dengue, which is a disease that kills thousands of people every year across the globe. And he came to me and said, well, how about making some antibodies out of those individuals that you're going to include in your trial and vaccinate? And I thought it was a great idea, and we start putting together a plan. We start collecting samples from individuals who received vaccine shot and trying to discover in their blood those antibodies that would protect them. And we started being successful. This is a process that has been evolving in different laboratories across the globe, and it's becoming more accessible. And I think these antibodies discovered from people are going to change medicine. I'll go back on this in a minute. So we start doing that. We found some antibodies. We've shown that these antibodies can protect monkeys in the laboratory. And then in the middle of this research came something completely unexpected. It was the Zika epidemic that started being detected in Brazil in 2015. Zika, as you know, is a disease that's pretty mild to those who have a good health. But mothers who are pregnant, if they get Zika infection, they can give birth to really severe malformed babies. And sometimes they develop this thing called microcephaly. It's pretty dramatic and heartbreaking because it basically destroys the lives of these kids and their families dealing with these debilitating problems. Then we looked to each other and said, how about changing this platform and making antibodies for Zika? And that's what we did. We got samples from some patients who had Zika. We're able to, from their blood, discover those antibodies, and we're able to protect monkeys using these antibodies discovered from people who had this disease. Well, this is a platform that can change medicine. And how this can be, because the entire process of new discoveries of medicines against diseases is based on a very laborious, expensive, and difficult process. Well, every one of you is a machine of antibody production. You are producing your antibodies right now against several diseases. Why not change this process and finding the cure against these diseases in your own bodies? In finding what is your antibody that's working well, isolate, produce, and then protect against this given disease. And that's, I think, it's going to change medicine in this way. We're going to probably, in few decades, replace all the antibiotics, all the antivirals, all the chemotherapy drugs for antibodies. And this is fantastic because it can basically create an entire portfolio of antibodies to protect against all these diseases. Talking to a friend from the Vaccine Research Center, National Institutes of Health, there is this vision that only for viruses, if you get all the viruses that are known to cause disease in humans are about 250. Why not put together a network of scientists, funders in laboratories, and discover antibodies against all these 250 viruses? And this work would be done. We would have everything in our hand in a well-preparedness effort to fight any further epidemic that we face by known viruses that can cause disease. And with that vision, I think we can work together. I think we can bring this idea to the general population, to general people, say that we have the tools to make this happen, but I don't know how to do this because I'm not a tech guy, so I just work in a lab. I take care of people, and we do clinical research, but we need your help. We need your help to close this gap. And with that came the idea of ViralCure. Perhaps we can team together, bring the concepts of networking, bring the concepts on how people can help science, and close a gap that's very difficult for us. Any discovery we make in a lab or in a research project, to make it turn into a product to be used in humans is so difficult. It's so expensive, and we don't have the necessary resources to do that. So that's why I'm here. I'm bringing this idea to you, and perhaps finding a way to close this gap, making these resources come directly from the population, the community, the society, in the hands of several scientists around the globe who can put these projects forward without the need of being hostage from a system that's profit-based. So this is my vision, this is my idea, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, comments that you may have. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to start with the first question. So you say you need help. Who in this room is going to step up and work with the doctor here? Because medicine and the way medical research happens has not changed in a very long time. So I think with the people in this room who are able, the technologists and the VCs and the entrepreneurs, we can come together and help you to actually realize this dream. So as a forum of people who can make things happen, I think we would love to have some people throw out some ideas as well. So let's try to actually, here's the thing. We talk a lot here, but at the end of the day, the expectation is you make things happen and you make them real. This is not about a bunch of people who sit around and just talk all day long. So, Pablo, do you have some thoughts? You want to start? I know you have many thoughts. I will cut you off if you go too long, though.
Okay, I just want to tell a short story how that happened, how we came up with. No, I'm okay here. I'm kind of shy, guys. So Esper, we met 8 years ago. He was a doctor for my son. My son had a very rare disease that is herpes, the first kind of herpes encephalitis. So he lost half of the brain. And Esper was the doctor who treated my son, okay? In the best hospital in my country, that name is Syro-Libanese, okay? And that's how we met. About 2 years ago, he came to me and said, we are working with two more friends in U.S. in this new kind of medicine that we're looking for antibodies, like biological weapons that we have, all of us, against many, many, many pathogenous agents. So what happened is that everybody that want to invest in us, they want to turn that to a very profitable product, okay? So what about we maybe put together a team of investors that can accept a new kind of medicine, a very inclusive medicine and not exclusive medicine. So we talk about many cases, and I had a friend that died because she couldn't, in the same time that died because she could not pay for the breast cancer. She needed a medicine named Herceptin. That's a new medicine as well. And that costs around $1 to produce, but it's $5,000 a shot. Okay, so we try to get some investors. Nobody want to get in because we're talking about tropical disease, neglect disease. So we say, man, we have to crowdfunding. We have to call a movement. We have to tell people that they can have access to the cure, but they have to be part of this. And with the blockchain, we can find a solution to tokenize that in the future and make people be partner on the patents. And we can maybe change find not only the cure for the disease, but the cure for the science itself. So the idea for ViralCure is to bring a campaign, a new idea, and we will try to start with crowdfunding that because we need to tell people that what's the results that can come out of this. So ViralCure now is a campaign that we is about to throw out, about to find the place, the regulations, all the compliance that we have to do. So we might start in Chile because they have already a crowdfunding just for biotech. It will be easy, but we want to try to go around the globe to try to crowdfunding. That's the first phase. We're going to spend a year crowdfunding science for this amazing genius guys that they not only working for us very silently in stealth mode, but they accept the challenge to make a new kind of medicine, a medicine that not only 2% can pay for, but a medicine that everybody can have access. So that's ViralCure. It's just a campaign, just an idea. So if everybody want to know more or help us to make it, to build it, more than invited. That's all about.
Thank you, Pablo. That's Pablo Martins. We've got the doctor here. There's a question over there. Let's face it, in a world where there's actually medicine available and people die because they can't afford it, that's just reprehensible. And we need to fix that. So let's put our brains together and our resources together. Nobody should die when there's medicine out there that could potentially save them. So, question.
So I'm volunteering to help you. I just want to make sure that I understand. What's your ask in one sentence? What are you asking for?
We need support to make any of these discoveries be produced in a clinical grade and tested in humans, and that's very expensive.
Okay.
We don't have these kind of resources. Once let's say you discover the cure for AIDS today, so you have this molecule, you're sure this is the cure. To make this pass through a series of procedures, and that's proven that's safe enough to inject in someone, there is a gap, and this gap is quite expensive. We cannot make it. That's why we basically hostage from investors that come usually through industry and buy you out and move this process forward. And then you all for profit. So if you can make this happen more swiftly, then you would have a much bigger portfolio, and you can negotiate these prices not to be as high or make them available.
I would love to help you. I'll give you my card. Your solution is not so much technological and blockchain. The blockchain solution or the technical solution is the vehicle, but your solution is altering the business model. It's the business model that's the roadblock, and technology is not going to alter the business model. But technology gives you the freedom, right, to change the business model, and that's what you need. That will probably be centered around regulatory arbitrage. Don't think U.S.-centric, or just don't think a particular country. So using regulatory arbitrage, you shop the deal around until you find an opportunity where you could do testing under favorable conditions. You take that data. The data is valuable, okay? And I'll end that here. I'll give you a card, and I'll keep my promise. Fair enough?
Actually, we're doing short talks here, so we're going to tee up for the next one soon. But if there are any more questions for the doctor, you guys all go off to the side and have those conversations. Oh, Pablo has one more thing to say. Okay.
Esper, I think it's important to everyone understand the difference between antibodies treatment than traditional antiviral, antibiotics, and that's because this is not only much more cheaper to go through antibodies, more safe. So can you just give a...
Remember that an antibody produced by a human being is, because it's produced by a human being, is humanized. So it's prone to survive and not to harm the host. And this is going to be much easier to put forward in the process of development compared to a molecule that you create in a lab, that you never know this molecule could kill someone. So I think the processes are changing in a way to make these antibodies speed track the process and be available much faster. So this is how we can make this happen more accessible and easier in the discovery process.
The thing I would like to know, because a lot of people here may be not concerned about tropical diseases, is your research and your program, or where you're aiming to, is it concerning only tropical diseases, or eventually also diseases that we are all concerned about?
Yeah, well, there are several diseases that concern the entire globe, but some are more focused in areas that are what we call tropical. And we also have a list of diseases that we call neglected. And neglected because it affects populations that are not wealthy enough to force the system to come up with solutions. Where I am from, we usually focus in these diseases, in tropical diseases, because dengue, we don't have a treatment. Yellow fever, we don't have a treatment. Zika, we don't have a treatment. But there are several other neglected diseases that need attention. One of them is malaria. Malaria kills 1.5 million kids per year. And this is the number of drugs that we have is very limited, is very limited. The approaches that we have to prevent transmission is very limited. We still have just a few vaccine candidates that have low efficacy. Why don't team up and try to solve this faster? Tuberculosis is another one. Still, I mean, the last drug for tuberculosis that came to market was in the 70s. And still it kills millions of people per year. So we need to have some new solutions. And that's what I think these kind of effort can come up with other options.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Doctor. Everyone should applause. Thank you.